some of the islands in Mozambique has never been really connected. I mean, there was communities out there that's never been connected to the internet.
Yeah.
And when we established, Starlink on those islands, we connected churches, we connected schools, we connected communities, and for the first time, these people had the experience that we normally find self-explanatory. Technology is moving rapidly, so you have to start with the basics.
Yeah.
You cannot provide AI services or provide any sort of cloud service or any value-added service if you don't have the basic blocks, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of quality connectivity, in terms of broadband. You need quality broadband services. You need an open regulatory framework.
Yeah. Welcome to ITWeb TV. Today we are talking about Africa's digital future. We are joined by the Group CEO of Paratus Group, Mr. Skauk Erasmus. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sam.
There's so much happening on the African continent regarding the digital infrastructure, and you guys, you've been playing this game for over 22 years.
That's right.
And now we understand you are launching something very exciting in the coming months, which is Paratus 500. Can you take us through, just as an introduction? I know it's something that you introduce in the next coming few weeks, but for the sake of our viewers, for them to anticipate, what should they be anticipating?
So maybe just to go back a little bit, Paratus initially started in Angola and Namibia. And, over the years, we've expanded to more countries, all organically. So we go to a country, we meet with the regulator, we talk to the local taxi driver, because trust me, if you want information about the country, you ask the taxi driver. He knows how many operators, he knows the problems, he knows the whole industry.
Yeah.
And so we started off in Namibia and Angola, then expanded to Zambia, eventually to Mauritius. We then acquired one or two companies, and in the process, we've established in more and more territories until the stage where we realized that, wow, we've now reached a population density of 500 million people. And then the concept of the Paratus 500 were born.
Okay.
And that basically is to cover the whole area in terms of population size.
Yep.
So looking at the territories that we've expanded to, it's quite a big population, and it's all sub-equatorial Africa.
And what do you hope to achieve with Paratus 500?
So for us, it's all about growth. We would like to grow as a company. We would like to expand our services to the population eventually. So it's very important that we connect, with the people living in each of these jurisdictions. Understand what is their demand, understand what is their frustration, their challenges, and see if we can find solutions. I guess so for us, it's about just expanding our services to provide that same quality of service, to in the region.
I do understand we have multiple licenses, probably 15 or so. How many licenses do you have, and across which countries, if you may share that with us?
Yeah, so in the last 2 years, we've acquired new licenses in 8 countries, and that will then push the total number of licensed countries to 16. That includes the recent establishment, that's in progress in Lesotho. So if you now look at the new countries that we've connected, we've created Paratus DRC, we've created Paratus Eswatini, in cooperation with our local partner, Real Image. We've also further branched off into Kenya, which we've launched just 2 weeks ago at ITW Africa. We've also branched into Malawi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and also Zimbabwe. I've got colleagues that's going to Zimbabwe this week, not moving, but visiting, to sort out some of the groundwork that's required. And that's also in connection or in conjunction with a partner in those territories. So we normally do it ourselves.
Yep.
Like I've mentioned, we go to the country, we meet with the regulator, we inquire the process of applying for a license. We register the company. We work through the necessary people to get the company going, and we appoint the people. In some of these jurisdictions, we then work with a partner.
Yeah.
So for us, it's also important to work with a partner that's on the ground, that understands, the arena, the politics, the regulator, and also the business. So yeah, I mean, it will now bring the total count to 16.
Okay.
To answer your question.
No, interesting. Let's move on. One of your major milestones is the east-west route, and now with the addition of Paratus 500s, how many routes now do you guys operate?
So that's a good question. Before I answer the question, you need to understand that we've been building infrastructure since our inception. So we've been building fiber, we've been building metro, we've even been building data centers. So doing fiber to the home and connecting to other submarine cable systems, we in the process also became the landing partner for the Equiano cable in Namibia.
Yeah.
So we had to go and construct a cable landing station to land the cable, which then in turn connects to our fiber. Now, the good thing about the fiber east to west, or we also call it the Paratus Express, is now connecting Maputo in Mozambique all the way through South Africa, Eswatini, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, all the way to the Kugel cable, Equiano cable in Swakopmund. So that then gives us a very unique route to connect east to west. And in the process, we've also established some other routes further north. Connecting Namibia to Zambia, connecting Namibia to Angola, connecting Botswana to Zimbabwe, Zambia to Zimbabwe, and even all the way to the DRC. So we've got, if you look at the Southern Cross, there's a east-west and a north-south. So for us, it's connecting the dots. So when we've got operations in countries like Zambia, we would like to connect it to our operations, for instance, in Botswana. So we find these unique routes to not just connect for our own benefit, but also for the benefit to our customers and our corporate customers.
Let's talk about the impact of some of these projects that you're talking about. What's the significance of all these projects or impact they have on connectivity on the continent?
There's a direct and indirect benefit. Obviously, if a customer that's, let's say, is with Paratus, that customer will experience a much faster experience. So it's a shorter route, for instance. It's a direct route. So you're talking about lower latency, more reliability, also resilience. So when you connect countries, you also want to find resilient alternative routes. For instance, the capital of Namibia is Windhoek. You can't just have a single route all the way to the cable landing station in Swakopmund. Because if there's a fiber break, then there's no resilience. And connecting to Botswana, you're now creating an alternative route to connect to South Africa and then to another subsea cable system. Maybe it's on the East Coast, maybe it's on the West Coast, to provide alternative services. So the customer will then find the benefit of having resilience. The customer will have lower latency, faster speed, and also, there's no single piece that's managed by a third party. Most of the routes that we construct or that we manage it ourselves. So we build it ourselves, we manage it ourselves, and then we can provide the service. So we can provide the SLA, we can provide alternative services, we can do bundled services in some cases. So there's a benefit to the customer. The indirect benefit, there could be cost saving. Maybe the route is better priced because we're buying bulk, or we built a lot of capacity, or we provide the service to another ISP and their customers will then also benefit from the same benefits. Lower speed, better quality, better service, etc.
This can be really an easy job for you guys, considering the lot of interest that's coming up on the continent when it comes to developing connectivity or, say, digital infrastructure. How would you compare with some of your peers that are also trying to get a pie of the connectivity in Africa? A piece of a pie.
So yes, it is. It's an interesting question. I think if you do what you love, and we love building infrastructure, you can then start offering a service on top of that infrastructure. So I normally compare everything back to service. I've got a model that I've been basically showing my peers. I look at the Parthenon. If you look at the Parthenon, the old Greek temple,
Yep.
there's a foundation, and then there's the pillars, and then the roof on top.
Yep.
Now the foundation is the infrastructure you build.
Uh-huh.
So those are the fiber, the data centers, etc. And then the pillars are the services that you provide.
Mhm.
And then the roof is all the value-added services that you provide on top of it. So that's now providing SLAs, providing cloud services, providing alternative services. So if you look at the whole picture, you need all of these layers to provide a quality service. So coming back to your question, it's service that's really driving the business. Because if everything is equal and you've got three operators providing this exact same service, let's say a fiber service or whatever, it is the service on top of that makes you unique. So providing a better service than your competitor can. And I guess that is what we are aiming for.
Okay, interesting. You have led me into my next part of the question that I wanted to go, which is fiber. So everybody is talking about fiber at the moment, and I think there's quite a fierce competition across the continent. What role do you see fiber playing in Paratus growth as well as adoption of cloud on the continent?
It still remains the number one connectivity on the continent, actually in the world.
Yeah.
There is nothing that beats the speed of light. If you look at fiber, you've got different colors. Let's call it different spectrum, different colors of light that's transmitting at very fast speed. So fiber is really the backbone of everything. Fiber is the foundation of any telecommunication service operator. You really need fiber capacity, lots of capacity between endpoints. It doesn't matter if it's the customer, to your core, or to your POP, your point of presence, or to the data center. So you really need fiber connectivity. Even if you buy an alternative service like low Earth orbit or VSAT, it basically connects back to the ground, and then the data is being transmitted on the subsea cable systems, which is fiber, or on the terrestrial backhauls, which is also fiber. So it still remains a key component.
Yeah, and another thing that's I think is becoming more of a buzzword in the industry is the issue of cloud. Everybody's talking about cloud, and how are you positioning yourself to be the service provider of choice? What's your unique selling point when it comes to that part?
Yeah, so cloud is a very broad term, but to provide cloud services, you need the core infrastructure. If you look back, if you take a look at what I was explaining on the Parthenon, the core foundation is still the data centers.
Yeah.
It's still the fiber, the backhauls, the metro that is required to provide cloud services. So we've just recently launched our Paratus Cloud in East Africa, in Kenya. Within a data center facility that is well known in the region, the IX Africa Data Center.
Yep.
And You provide, you need a data center to provide cloud services. You need to host those servers in a data center to provide these services. You know, everyone thinks the cloud services is just somewhere there up in the sky. It's not the case. I mean, you need to have data centers on the ground, connecting to fiber, connecting, to the customer to provide a reliable and quality cloud service.
Okay, interesting. And with the growth that you have just mentioned, you expanding into new territories, what kind of solutions do you intend to bring in those solutions? And also, do you intend to build new infrastructure in those territories, or they're going to piggyback from the already existing territories?
So that's a yeah, it's a two-sided answer, because I mean, if there's a lack of infrastructure, then we have to construct. We have to construct the fiber, we have to construct data centers. If there's already existing data centers, like I've just mentioned in Kenya, there is a bunch of different data centers already. Then you partner with somebody that already has the infrastructure on the ground. And, we believe in cooperation, and also competition. Co-opetition is, when you compete, but you do it in a competitive and cooperative way. So then we will lease the services, or we will buy dark fiber, and then light it up ourselves. So we install the active components. Where there is a lack of infrastructure, then we build. We built the infrastructure, we built the data centers, the fiber, etc. So the plan is still to do what we love. We love to build infrastructure, and we will continue to do that. Building a data center, for instance, is a very long-term investment. So you need to wait quite a long time before you can recoup on your investment.
Yep.
But it is a very sustainable business model. It's like building a hotel.
Yeah.
Building a hotel, you can rent the rooms. Maybe you've got a tenant that wants a permanent, you know, room, or maybe you can do dailies or whatever. So it's a similar case. A data center is very similar as a property play. You build a data center and you lease, the cabinets. You rent the cabinets out, just similar to a hotel. You rent out the room.
Yeah.
So it's based on that model.
Okay. As we move on, I want to touch on satellite tech. I think it's one of the technologies that's are becoming quite popular and important for the connectivity on the continent. And I understand you guys recently partnered with Starlink. And will you be taking Starlink as your key driver as well, going into into these new markets that you're talking about? Or what role is Starlink playing in terms of your growth strategy moving forward?
So Starlink is a global operator.
Yeah.
Wherever Starlink services are available, we are a reseller. So there are multiple resellers in Africa. There's multiple resellers in the world, but it's a complementary service that we can provide. Where there's a lack of infrastructure, where there is no fiber, where there's no other alternative. So to give you an example, some of the islands in Mozambique has never been really connected. I mean, there was communities out there that's never been connected to the internet.
Yeah.
And when we established, Starlink on those islands, we connected churches, we connected schools, we connected communities, and for the first time, these people had the experience that we normally find self-explanatory. Everyone's got internet, but I mean, now you're sitting with communities that all of a sudden has access to the internet. So we could see the difference it makes. You can see, how that improves people's lives. So it's definitely a complementary service, and in some countries it's a necessity. There is no other alternative.
Yeah.
So it goes hand in hand with the services we provide. We believe to provide a quality service, and we do feel that Starlink is a quality service that is affordable, and it's correctly priced and correctly positioned for the African market.
Mm. Um, Let's move on to data centers. I know you have touched a bit about it, and there's also, I can say, a rush from different companies building infrastructure data centers. You are already playing that part. I think you have a number of them. Um, are there any plans to build more tier 3 type of data centers in new territory?
Yes, there is. We're looking at a number of opportunities. We are commencing with 2 new data center builds.
Okay.
So that's already.
In which areas?
So the one is in Angola,
Okay.
and then another one I can't mention at the moment. But I mean, there's definitely uptake requirements, to build more data centers. I do feel there's in the southern parts of Africa, you know, traditionally, South Africa was the leader.
Uh,
And there's still a demand for data centers, especially with the localization of data, by the various regulators and governments, is to build data centers in those countries. And actually, each country in the world actually needs a proper data center. And the way that we build the data centers, we do a open access, carrier neutral, which we allow the other competitors or providers to also install their infrastructure in our data centers to provide the service from that data center.
Okay, interesting. And let's move on to the emerging technologies that, like your AI. We know that reshaping industries worldwide, Africa included. How are you positioning yourself as Paratus Group for this shift that's happening, and what are you doing within the AI space?
So we've just acquired some of these robots that can pick up the phone and talk to the people. No, I'm joking. So AI is definitely an interesting topic. I mean, you've got so many functions for AI. There's so many people that's using AI assistants. There's so many people that's relying on AI, as if it's the gospel. So if you now tell somebody no, but AI said so,
Yeah.
who's gonna now dispute that?
Nobody.
So, but I mean, we do see the need for using AI. If you listen and look at what's happening in the world, there's definitely more and more uses and use cases for AI. Um, we do see that in order to provide any kind of AI service, you still need the underlying foundation blocks. You still need data centers. You still need fiber. You need the connectivity that will drive data. AI is data hungry.
Yeah.
AI will consume so much data. These large, what do they call it? The language modules, the
Yeah.
LLMs.
LLM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Large language.
Yes.
Machine. Yeah.
So there's so
Machine
much
learning. Yeah.
there's so much data that sits behind AI.
Yeah.
People think AI is it's an application, but it's a whole methodology.
Mm.
The need for AI is increasing, and the need for connectivity
Mm.
is on the rise. And I do feel that Africa still has a long way to go. If you look at some of the World Bank reports and you look at the internet penetration rates, there's still countries that's got an internet penetration rate of below 30 or 20%.
Mm.
I mean, it's hard to believe that.
Yeah.
Um, so if you look at the population that I've mentioned, the 500 million people, if you look at the penetration, let's say you work on an average of, let's say 60%, which is already high, then that means 40% of that 500 million people is still unconnected.
Yeah.
So you need to fix the solution. How do you fix the solution? You don't just ask AI to fix it. You have to build the infrastructure.
Yeah.
AI will be a supplementary service. But we have started using AI in some of our systems as well. We also have some integration into AI through channels like WhatsApp.
Yeah.
We've also got a little chat bot on our website. If you go to our newly launched Paratus Namibia site, you'll see there's like little robot there, which is an AI module, that integrates, to the back end system and assisting the customers with basic questions. If you now want to know how to top up your data, you can ask AI, and that little robot will tell you, okay, this is what you need to do. So I do see that usage picking up, all over Africa and actually all over the world. But yeah, we can't wait for the robots to do everything.
Interesting stuff. Being around for more than 22 years, and you are in this pool of sharks, I'll call them sharks, which is other telcos. Where do you find yourself in that pool of sharks? There, where do you position?
Call them sharks. Sharks is such a cruel word. Maybe whales.
Dolphins.
No, like maybe whales. I mean,
Okay.
you've got, the whales basically dominate the ocean. We're not a whale yet. I mean, we're baby whale.
Yeah.
We do feel we're still agile.
Mhm.
We can make decisions quickly. We can execute quickly.
Mhm.
And, so for us, there's, the population is growing.
Yeah.
If you look at the population is growing. So you're not really taking any customers from your competitors.
Yeah.
There's always new customers. There's always new technologies. There's always new demand, that grows. So in that sense, I wouldn't say, we're fighting with them. It's not, it's not sharks attacking each other.
Yeah.
I think there's enough business for everyone.
Yeah.
And we try to do it in a competitive, cooperative way.
Yeah.
So we work with all of these, other operators,
Mhm.
and it's a buy-sell relationship. So if I have to compare ourselves in terms of our footprint that
Yeah.
we've established,
Yeah.
it's really impressive. And I think we are definitely in the top 5,
Mm.
and maybe top 3, if you look at our footprint and the services we provide.
Then brings me to my next question. With the number of the telcos that are there, there are those that are talking about consolidation is inevitable. It will happen whether we like it or not. What's your view on that?
It is something I also suggested to some of them. Um, there's still that mentality that, no, we can do it better. We
Yeah.
can do it better than the next guy can.
Yeah.
So I don't see it's going to happen soon.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of speculation about some kind of transformation.
Yep.
I don't think that is the solution we require. I don't think that is the ultimate digital transformation everyone is talking about.
Yep.
Consolidation might be a process where you see a synergy. Maybe because we're connecting on sub-equatorial Africa, south of the equator, and someone else is focusing north of the equator. Maybe in a few years or 10 years from now, there's a synergy to connect, these two operators under one brand.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be our brand,
Yeah.
but I mean there might be an opportunity like that will arise. Then you compete on the whole continent. Then you're not just sub-Sahara Africa.
Yeah.
You are a complete Africa operator that operates in 54 countries, I believe.
Yeah. 54.
In Africa. Then you are a global operator. Then if you can cover a whole continent, maybe you can do the next.
Yeah, interesting. Scout, as we move towards the end of this conversation, I think we've spoken about connectivity, which is fiber, satellites. We've touched on emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, that is. With all these things put together, how do you foresee digital transformation on the African continent unfolding going forward?
That's $1 million question. I do feel building more infrastructure, providing a reliable service, you will unfold, and you will bridge that gap, The way of bridging the gap is by providing an affordable quality service, that we are striving towards, to be, Africa's quality network. So in terms of what we are trying to achieve, in terms of connectivity, in terms of quality, in terms of service, I feel if everyone has that mentality, trying to solve problems, real world problems in today's world, that is the recipe to success. If you can achieve that, you can grow as a company, and you can then close this digital gap. And technology is moving rapidly. So you have to start with the basics.
Yeah.
You cannot provide AI services or provide any sort of cloud service or any value added service if you don't have the basic blocks. In terms of infrastructure, in terms of quality connectivity, in terms of broadband.
Yeah.
Broadband in Africa, in certain countries, there's some markets that still think that 2 megabits per second is broadband connectivity. It's not. I mean, if you have experienced Starlink, and you're sitting in the middle of the desert, or you're sitting in a village, and you're connecting at 100 or 200 megabits per second, then you understand what broadband is supposed to be. Broadband is not 2 megabits per second. So if you can unfold that, to the population of Africa, and we're just focusing on the 500 million in our region.
Yeah.
If you can do that across the continent, I think that's the recipe to success.
Yeah. And looking at the way digital transformation on the continent has been unfolding, I think it has attracted a number of players, international and African-born companies like yours. That means there's a bit of competition there in terms of how you position yourself. How is Paratus positioning itself to remain at the center of digital transformation on the continent, and how will you do that?
So maybe just to go back a step, we have recently launched our mobile services in Namibia. So in Namibia, on the second.
You're killing my next question.
Sorry, I didn't know where you're going with this.
That's all right.
But to see what works in a country like Namibia with a small population,
Yeah.
you can then see what works for the typical Namibian, for instance. If you can provide a similar service or a better service in another area or jurisdiction, then you can provide a quality service, and you can really showcase to the community and to the population that you've tested the services. This works. Maybe it doesn't work for one country, but maybe it works for another country. So if you're in multi jurisdictions and you can see this is a service that works. For instance, Starlink works. It's a pity that Starlink is not operational in Namibia yet.
Yeah.
It's actually a pity it's not legally operational in South Africa yet.
Yeah.
The service works. The service is an enabler. It's an enabler to a lot of other services that you can provide. If you want to start monetizing certain platforms like YouTube, you need quality broadband services. You need an open regulatory framework.
Yeah.
You need access you need to have the same access, in all the different countries, to all the services that, let's say, you get in the United States of America, or in the UK, or anywhere else for that matter. So you need to have a framework that allows, that digital boost. So I guess, I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it does. I'm sure the viewers will ask you questions if they. Now that you mentioned about the private mobile network you built up in Namibia, are there any plans to do the same in other territories? If so, where?
not at the moment. But I mean, maybe time will tell. I do feel it will be ideal if you've got one network, across, all the jurisdictions where you operate.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, it takes a lot of investment. You need a certain amount of manpower,
Mhm.
to pull it off. I mean, it's not, you can't do it in a small operation with 20 people.
Mhm.
So time will tell. I mean, you need to grow the business until you feel, okay, maybe there's an opportunity to do the same in that country.
Mm.
But in certain countries, maybe there's already 5 or 6 or 10 mobile operations or more mobile operators.
Yeah.
So then that doesn't make any sense to now go and try to compete with them. I mean, then they've, maybe the market is already saturated. So I do believe that you need to have options. You need to have options as a consumer, and you need to have options as a corporate customer.
Mm.
And this, I feel that if you can do it, if you can do something better, then do it. If you feel that you can do something, even my kids, if I tell them,
Yeah.
if everyone is selling ice cream, just make sure that your ice creams are colder.
Yeah.
You provide the service.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about the logistics. Maybe you can sell ice creams faster. Maybe you sell ice creams cheaper. So you need to basically do it better. If you feel you can do it better, then go for it. Then do it. I mean, so that's how I see it.
Good stuff. And in conclusion, Scout, let's look at what's coming ahead. What are the Paratus Group's plans in the next 12 to 18 months? No matter what, or in the near term, what are you guys
Yeah. So
looking, and where will be the focus be?
so I took over as the CEO 3 years
2022.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah.
And I came out. My idea at the time was purely revenue focused. Doubling revenues
Yeah.
in 5 years, and we are well on track to achieve that. And I think it's not the ultimate goal. It's not just top line revenue, but if you can grow the business,
Uh-huh.
and you can show a return on the investments you've made, and you can improve the lives of people across the continent. That should be the strategy. Is what can we do? What can we do for the fellow Africans on the continent to make their lives better, and also in the process grow as a company? So we are still well on track to double our turnover in the next 5 years. And that will, I guess, it will remain the motto, the underlying motto for the time being, is to grow revenues, but also to provide a better service, to build more infrastructure, to employ more people. I
Yep.
mean, we've grown so much over the last, let's say, 20 years.
Mm.
I mean, we really started with a handful of people, and now we are direct and indirect employees are over 1,000 already.
Okay.
So
Massive.
there's still room to grow. I mean, this is now we've just started with these 8 new territories.
Yeah.
So I guess we will easily double our employees as well over the next 5 to 10 years. And I guess it's important that you still love what you do.
Okay.
That I think that is the motto.
Okay.
If you can make a difference in someone's lives by providing a service, even if it's just an internet service, it definitely keeps you going.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming through. We appreciate the time that you've taken to come to our studios. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you soon. We can't wait for the launch of Paratus 500, and we hopefully will be able to be there to witness the revolution in action. The revolution will be televised, so we'll definitely look out for that. Thank you for watching this session of ITWeb TV. Please subscribe below, and until next time, goodbye.